Looks like we're going live in 5. What's happening, y'all? Good looking, sexy, full out, happy land. Hope we're doing all right tonight. Just thought I'd open a panel, live panel, see if anybody's out there in Happy Land. All my favorite live streamers are not currently live, so I thought, why not? Why not? Why not have another Frank Monday live drive? Happy Land tonight, FM radio. If you're tuning in via your headset, be wary, Wayfarer, because sometimes I pop on the mic. And it's not a sin to be zen. But what you gonna do, huh? What you gonna do? Haters gonna hate. What you gonna do when motherfuckers stepping in your hood, calling you nigga?
It says, hey, nigger.
Depends on how you said it. Like you say, what's up, nigga? Then that's cool. But if you just say, nigger, then I'm gonna take it different. I might be over there, you be pulling me off of it, you know?
Now, if a white person walks up to Eazy-E and says, hey, nigger.
Depends on how you said it. Like you say, what's up, nigga? Then that's cool. But if you just say, nigger, then I'm gonna take it different. I might be over there, you be pulling me off of it.
That's right. He'd be over there whooping that ass. Old Eazy-E, straight out the hood. Straight out of Compton. A nigga named Ice Cube. Alright, woke up quick at about noon. Yeah, let's get this fucking party rocking, man. If you guys are out there, whoops. Person walks up to Eazy-E and says, hey, nigger. I guess it just depends on who it is, right? And how they say it. Be coming in here with that happy horse shit, right? This is the truth. Let's see what Carl Young's got to say. Till anybody shows up. If y'all good looking sex be want to hang out, come on in and chime on up. If not,
unexpected and disarming when the world begins to blur. The colors that once dazzled your senses begin to fade. The sounds that once stirred something inside you now pass like distant echoes. Your feet still move, your lips still speak, but the soul no longer follows. You wake up and the air tastes like nothing. You scroll through songs, but no rhythm moves your blood. You walk among people, but every word spoken falls like ash. You try to force a smile, but it clings to your face like a mask you forgot how to remove. You remember the things that used to excite you, the laughter that once erupted from your chest without effort, the passions that once pulled you from sleep before dawn, but now they are silent. You're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not even depressed in the way society often describes it. You are being summoned. This emptiness is not your enemy, it is your invitation. It is the knock at the door that no longer allows you to pretend. Carl Jung once wrote that the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent. But what about the unlived life within you, that neglected self, ignored, dismissed, buried beneath duties and roles, has begun to stir? The emptiness you feel is not a void. It is a voice, a silent scream from the soul begging to be remembered. Not for what it does, but for what it is. You were never meant to live entirely on the surface. You were not designed to be satisfied with checklists and timelines, likes and follows, routines and rewards that lack substance. And yet from the moment you entered this world, you were handed an identity, like a pre-written script. You learned to smile when it pleased others. You learned to want what others valued. You became a collection of masks. The good child, the achiever, the pleaser, the strong one, the quiet one. Each one carefully constructed to survive, to belong, to be seen. But none of them were the whole of you. None of them could hold the vastness of your inner world. And now that the distractions have lost their power, now that the roles no longer fit, you begin to feel it. That aching, shapeless feeling that nothing is truly fun anymore. That nothing reaches you. But this is not failure. This is the moment before revelation. Jung called it the dark night of the soul, a sacred descent, not into madness, but into truth. a necessary unraveling of false identities, a stripping away of the noise that once kept you comfortably asleep. The mind rebels, the ego panics, the world feels distant because you are not meant to remain who you were. This is not boredom, this is the death of the persona, and in that death, something ancient within you begins to awaken, the self. The deeper whole, untamed you that has waited silently beneath the surface, longing for this very fracture in the facade. The reason nothing feels interesting anymore is because your soul refuses to be fed by lies. We have been taught to fear silence, to fill every moment with movement, every gap with content. But silence is the gateway to the unconscious. And only in stillness can you hear the quiet voice that has always whispered beneath the noise.
That's right. AI, Carl Jung. So let's return to stillness. The doors of the temple are open, guys. And I'll leave them open, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, see if anything happens. If not, I'll just roll on into the abodes of the future. I thought it might be fun if anyone's out there. If not, it is what it is, right? Be happy about that. That you have another chance to breathe, think, feel, and love. Let's look at that was some pretty bad AI slop right there. AI Carl Jung. Let's look at this Lemegeton.
The Lesser Key of Solomon, or Lemegeton, has long fascinated occult scholars and seekers of forbidden knowledge. Purportedly compiled in the 17th century from even older grimoires, it is a compendium of demonology and ritual magic, detailing 72 spirits and the rites to summon them. On the surface, it appears as a mere catalogue of infernal entities and ceremonial commands. Yet beneath this mundane guise lies a deeper, far more terrifying truth. The Lemegeton is not simply a manual of summoning demons, but a cryptic gateway to cosmic realities far beyond human comprehension. It is, perhaps, one of the few ancient texts that mask the presence of the Old Ones, the incomprehensible cosmic entities whose shadows loom over all existence. The Lesser Key is traditionally divided into 5 parts: Ars Goetia, Ars Theurgia Goetia, Ars Paulina, Ars Almadel, and Ars Notoria. Of these, the Ars Goetia, listing 72 spirits, is the most infamous. Solomon, the legendary king and master magician, is said to have bound these spirits to his will, using a combination of divine authority and arcane knowledge. The historical veracity of this claim is questionable. The grimoires we have are compilations and redactions from centuries of occult tradition. Yet, what if the demons Solomon bound were not mere fallen angels or evil spirits? What if these entities were fragments or avatars of something far more ancient and alien? Manifestations of the Old Ones themselves. The Old Ones, as whispered in forbidden texts like the Necronomicon, exist beyond the boundaries of time and space, indifferent or hostile to humanity. To the untrained mind, these beings may appear as demons, but to those with deeper insight, they are cosmic archetypes, forces that underpin reality's hidden architecture. The Lemegeton sigils, or magical seals, are not mere decorative symbols. They are keys, coded glyphs resonating with ancient cosmic energies. Each seal corresponds to a spirit, a gateway to a domain beyond human perception. When Solomon, or a modern practitioner, invokes these spirits, They are not merely summoning demons, but opening fractures in the veil, separating our world from other dimensions inhabited by the Old Ones. This interdimensional aspect suggests that the Lemmigaton functions as a cipher, an encoded map to navigating the cosmic labyrinth. The 72 spirits become 7 seals or gates in a broader metaphysical system. Each demon is a node in the cosmic matrix, an expression of primal forces, echoing the unknowable nature of the Old Ones. The 72 entities in the Ars Goetia can be reinterpreted as ancient cosmic princes, each embodying a fragment of the Old One's incomprehensible will. For instance, Baal, often depicted as a 3-headed demon, may represent the fracturing of identity in the face of cosmic dissolution. Paimon, a king bearing inscrutable wisdom, is reminiscent of the heralds of forbidden knowledge, similar to Yog-Sothoth's gateways. Astaroth, often invoked for hidden knowledge and insight, can be seen as an avatar of the liminal spaces between sanity and madness. Each entity's sigil is a fragment of a larger cosmic code, and the rituals invoking them are more than summoning ceremonies. They are the alignment of human consciousness with these cosmic archetypes.
Step right up, step right up. Try your hand at the wheel of fortune. Waiting for you, Wayfarer. If not, once again, about 15-20, then we're off into the abodes of Happy Land. All right. Good looking out, either way.
To engage with them is to risk the boundaries of the self dissolving and to glimpse the terrifying truths lying beyond. This ancient grimoire conceals within its pages an encoded structure, a cosmic matrix linking human consciousness to the eldritch realms. By invoking the spirits, the practitioner attempts to tap into the machinery of the universe itself, accessing power that lies dormant in the fabric of existence. The Old Ones, ever watchful from their timeless domains, influence these energies, their presence felt through subtle distortions in reality. These forces do not obey human morality or logic. The Lemmigaton warns that those who seek to master these powers without reverence and understanding risk madness, possession, or annihilation. The spells and rituals are a form of dangerous technology, one that manipulates the very code of existence. The Necronomicon, De Vermis Mysterious, and Book of Ibon are parallel grimoires that share fragments of this cosmic language. Together, they form a constellation of forbidden texts, each unveiling aspects of the Old Ones and the Dark Order governing the cosmos. The rituals detailed in the Lemmigaton are far more than symbolic acts or theatrical ceremonies. They are precise, dangerous protocols designed to breach the veils between worlds and dimensions. Every element, be it the carefully drawn sigils, the exact ingredients of the incense, the precise chanting of names, or the complex geometric patterns, functions as a tuning mechanism. These elements attune the practitioner's mind and environment to the specific resonant frequencies of the Old One's spheres. opening transient portals to realms where human laws of physics and sanity no longer apply. Engaging in these rites is akin to operating a piece of forbidden cosmic machinery. The slightest misstep or lapse in focus can lead to devastating consequences. Summoning spirits without the requisite preparation and protective measures can result in dire outcomes. Possession by entities whose motives are inscrutable, permanent psychic fragmentation, or the soul's eternal entrapment in alien dimensions far removed from human comprehension. The entities, often labeled as demons in traditional interpretations, are utterly indifferent to human suffering, morality, or desires. They are ancient energies and intelligences, driven by purposes far beyond mortal concerns, and they may exploit any weakness. The Lemegeton repeatedly underscores the necessity for rigorous purification rituals, protective wards, and strict discipline of body and mind. It is not merely physical survival at stake, but the preservation of one's very essence and identity. Failure to heed these warnings risks more than death. It risks exile from the human world and the collapse of sanity into realms where madness is the only certainty. The grimoire's tone is grave and unyielding. Power exacts a price, and the cost is often paid in full. Embedded within the Lemegeton's elaborate cosmology lies a profound structure of power and influence, a hierarchy that reflects the rumored cosmic order of the Old Ones themselves. The 72 spirits cataloged in its pages are not merely random entities, but correspond to varied emanations and aspects of vast cosmic intelligences, whose full forms and purposes are forever beyond human ken. This hierarchy is not a simple ladder, but a vast, multi-dimensional network. Summoning a single spirit may unwittingly summon the attention of its superiors, or allied entities, thus attracting more potent and dangerous forces. The grimoire hints at layers of complexity, each summoned entity a node within a greater, unknowable design, connected to eldritch pantheons that span infinite realms. For the magician, this hierarchy is both an opportunity and a peril. To ascend its ranks is to flirt with godlike power, but it also risks becoming a mere pawn in an eternal cosmic game played by intelligences whose goals are inscrutable and indifferent to mortal concerns. Such power often demands a soul's surrender, transforming the seeker into a vessel for the Old One's unfathomable will, a living conduit of cosmic forces that transcend human identity and freedom. The Lemegeton warns, in veiled language, that those who pursue this path must be prepared to face consequences far beyond death or madness. They may lose their very selves, consumed or repurposed by the ancient and alien hierarchies that have existed since time immemorial. The Lesser Key of Solomon is far more than a mere demonological text. It is a coded gateway into cosmic truths, secrets that reveal the fragile and perilous nature of human existence. In its pages lurk the shadows of the Old Ones, timeless beings whose very presence warps reality. Those who dare to unlock the Lemegeton's secrets embark on a journey that can lead to transcendence or oblivion. The book stands as a dark mirror reflecting humanity's endless thirst for knowledge and the terrible price of confronting the unknown.
All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, if you're going to pursue the Lemegeton, I would recommend that you start with the Arbitel. You might have a little more protection at your disposal. But it's up to you. It's up to each and every individual how they pursue the magic. Yeah, Rose 777, good seeing you here. Good looking out. I got some notes in my journal for you. I haven't been able to bring back much from Dreamland. Some other things have been going on over there, but I've had an eye open. I did some preliminary readings after we got off the internet the other day, and I pulled up your birth chart and I looked at that. If you don't have a copy handy, I can send you one. And I was going to prepare you a lovely email in response, but I've been busy with moving. I'm moving into a new dormitory apartment for my academy, and so wow, it's been hectic. I've been at it like 12 hours a day. I had to clean the place. They left it dirty from the last tenant, so kind of a big deal, and I had to clean it. I got a nanny and I had my wife help me, and we went over and we cleaned it all up, but it's looking good, man. It's ready to move in. We're gonna be moving in today. Well, we started, like I said, we started cleaning and moving some things in, but here in a couple of hours, I'm going to be back at it and getting things ready. But I got about a good 30 to 40 minutes if you want to come on board and chat about that or anything else. I don't know. You're pretty busy too, so you might not have time right now. You might just have stopped by to say hello. I simply opened the stream because I wanted to hang out a little bit and see if anybody was online having fun. And when I tuned in, TML was live for a couple hours, and then he went off the air. And I didn't see anyone else live right now that I usually follow. I watched Jack was live for about an hour this morning, and then I did a little brief stream about an hour long. And yeah, so I was just hanging out, seeing if anybody was chilling out in Happy Land. Yeah, so thank you for stopping by. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. That was a brief presentation on the Lemegeton by Esoteric Guardian. Definitely check out his stuff. He's doing a lot of work. There seems to be a lot of guys who are using like AI generated art with AI generated essays in like lines of just about anything you have interest in. And some of them are just garbage, but some of them are really, really good. Esoteric Guardian's one that's really good. Another one is Grimface Motivation. It's another one that's really good. I can't think of any others that are strictly AI. I think those ones are like pretty close to just like strictly AI. Maybe even entities created by the AI itself, like AI within AI, which would be interesting. You never know who's a person anymore, right? It's hard to say. Even if you cam up, that could totally be fake at a really good level these days. So you might have a hard time determining whether the voice, like we need a modern day Turing's test, because I think most of the entities out here could probably pass the more basic Turing test pretty easily. And you got to wonder how long that's been a fact, you know, like, is anybody truly sentient anymore, or just the creation of the hypothesis within the hypothesis? Are we partying after? I'm partying after TML, man. I was over at TML for a while, and I decided to have a little bit of an after party. Not sure if you're familiar with that one or not, but yeah, that's what was going on. I was looking to see if anybody was live, and none of my favorites were streaming. So I thought, well, why not just go ahead and open it up and see if anybody comes over to chat with you, old Frank Monday. It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare if someone does, but I do have some ideas. From my last transmission, I did an hour-long presentation on just one idiom from Zhuangzi earlier today. But yeah, I thought, I had a little time in between here and then, here and there, this, that, and the other thing, and wanted to see if anybody wanted to chat. Like I said, it's open to Rose if she wanted to discuss a little more in detail her tarot reading. I got some notes here. Let me see where they're at. I took some notes. I did some incantations, a little bit of prayer and meditation, but nothing came out of like the purely intuitive yet. This is done through tarot reading. So I drew 1, 2, 3, 4. I drew about 8 or 10 tarot cards for you with a natural delineation, right? Like I started with a single idea and then broke it down and then saw where that idea led. It was all very magical too. Like it would be of interest to you. That was on, what day was that? We did that. I guess was that yesterday or the day before? But yeah, so I took about, I don't know, man, maybe an hour or so after we spoke to do some things, to get into some good magic. And yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, I read your birth chart. And I have some feedback, but I haven't prepared my feedback on your birth chart yet. But I do have some feedback for my preliminary inquiries. And I want to see what they mean to you before I proceed. And so, yeah, I want to annotate your birth chart a little bit and then send it to you. You probably have a nice copy already. You're the type of person that has probably already done some digging into the esoteric and occulted nature of your own life, which is good fun and good magic. Yeah, Lord Racer. So I'm just hanging out, chilling, man. But yeah, I didn't want to hold down the fort alone because I already did my spiel a few hours ago, and I really don't have the energy for it because I've been working so hard over the last couple of days. But I did want to open things up and see if anybody wanted to stop by and say hello. Like I said, just providing a sanctuary in the storm, as it were, because I couldn't find anything going on that I was interested in. Let's look at the Narcotic Manuscript. That'll be fun. And then I'll pay attention to the chat a little bit, and if anybody's out there, let me know. All right. Welcome back, FM Radios. Frank Monday coming at you once again like Finnegan.
Among the many whispered legends of forbidden tomes and ancient grimoires, few possess the same aura of mystery as the Pnakotic manuscripts. Unlike the Necronomicon, whose apocryphal copies have been the subject of countless debates, or the Unaussprechlichen Kulten, which exists in fragments scattered across secretive archives, the Pnakotic manuscripts remain an enigma, wrapped in layers of obscurity. Some claim it never existed in any material form, that it is a collection of knowledge transcribed in fleeting visions granted to those who dream too deeply. Others believe it is a lost relic from a pre-human age, a remnant of a civilization that transcended both time and space. Mainstream scholars dismiss the Pnakotic manuscripts as mere fiction, a literary invention meant to terrify and mystify those drawn to the occult. Yet among esoteric circles, it is said that fragments still survive, scattered across ancient monasteries, hidden in crumbling vaults beneath forgotten cities, or buried within the archives of institutions that would rather their existence remain unknown. Those who have sought the text have often vanished, their fates unrecorded save for cryptic notes and unsettling accounts of their final days. What is known, or at least suspected, is that the Pnakotic manuscripts are not the work of men. The few who claim to have glimpsed its passages speak of writings older than human civilization, penned by intelligences whose concept of time defies all understanding. It is a book that should not exist, and yet, in the darkest corners of history, it whispers. The origins of the Pnakotic manuscripts are shrouded in speculation, with the most persistent claim attributing their creation to the great race of Yith. This pre-human species, whose minds could traverse time itself, supposedly inscribed their knowledge upon imperishable tablets in the lost city of Pentecotus, a settlement that once flourished in an age when Earth was young and ruled by inhuman intelligences. If such a city ever existed, it would predate even the most ancient ruins known to mankind. Legends speak of a civilization whose knowledge spanned the stars, who observed the rise and fall of countless species, and whose mastery of consciousness allowed them to project their minds across aeons. It is said that the Pentecotic manuscripts recorded this knowledge, the cosmic cycles of creation and destruction, the names of entities whose mere mention could unmake reality, and the precise methods by which a sentient mind might detach itself from its mortal vessel and inhabit another across the gulfs of time. The text allegedly contains references to beings beyond human comprehension, the Elder Ones, the Lurkers beyond time, and Yog-Sothoth, the All-in-One who exists outside the boundaries of past, present, and future. Certain passages describe arcane formulas capable of unraveling the illusion of linear time, though the consequences of such knowledge are beyond reckoning. Some accounts suggest that Yog-Sothoth is not merely an entity, but a gate, a presence that connects all points of time and space simultaneously. It is whispered that those who dare to invoke his name properly risk perceiving the universe as it truly is, a vast, indifferent expanse where humanity is but a fleeting anomaly. The manuscripts allude to rituals of attunement, in which the barriers between mind and cosmos are weakened, allowing the practitioner to glimpse the raw, chaotic structure of existence through the eyes of Yog-Sothoth. Many who have attempted such rites are said to have been driven to madness, their bodies found in states of grotesque contortion, as if their forms had been briefly untethered from conventional reality. More than one cryptic source has suggested that the Pentecotic manuscripts may also contain warnings, prophecies of cosmic catastrophes, the slow decay of reality itself, and the return of forgotten entities whose dominion over existence has merely been postponed. Some theorists propose that the great race of Yith, through their mastery of time travel, has witnessed not just one, but multiple cycles of civilizations rise and fall. They have observed the twilight of empires, the extinction of species, and the cataclysmic forces that periodically reshape existence itself. It is said that in their exploration of time, the great race has borne witness to the ruin of entire worlds, not merely Earth, but other planets where intelligence briefly flickered before succumbing to entropy. Some scholars, working from second-hand accounts of the manuscripts, suggest that the Great Race compiled a catalog of these extinctions, an exhaustive chronicle of stellar civilizations undone by war, natural disaster, or incomprehensible external forces. These records allegedly speak of a long-forgotten species on Mars that fell to a creeping crimson blight, of oceanic beings on a distant exoplanet whose civilization was shattered when their sun flared unpredictably, of artificial minds created by a now extinct race, which continued their creator's work long after biological life had vanished. The Pentecotic manuscripts supposedly record these as inevitable, cyclical occurrences, a pattern of cosmic ebb and flow dictated by forces beyond sentient control. If these warnings hold truth, then humanity's place in the universe is not as secure as it believes. The great race of Yith, having already foreseen the downfall of human civilization, may merely be waiting for the moment when history aligns with their observations. Some interpretations of the manuscripts even suggest that their entire purpose is not to educate or warn, but to serve as a mere historical curiosity, a detached record of an event already fated to occur. Though the Pentecotic manuscripts are said to originate from a pre-human race, scattered records suggest that certain fragments of the text may have fallen into human hands throughout history. These accounts, though rare and often conflicting, suggest that various civilizations, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Greek, may have encountered glimpses of its knowledge and attempted to incorporate them into their own mythologies and sciences. The Book of Ibon and De Vermis Mysteries both contain vague references to a text known as the Scriptum Pennacotica, described as an ancient book of impossible knowledge. The Book of Ibon, attributed to the Hyperborean sorcerer Ibon, mentions a lost volume written before the first temples of men, which held the secrets of time's unraveling. De Vermis Mysteries, written in the 16th century by Ludwig Prinn, contains a cryptic passage that reads, "To those who walk within the currents of time, the words of Pennacotus are neither past nor future, but always. Beware the scribes who inscribe upon the skin of eternity." Some scholars believe this is a reference to the Yithians' ability to record their knowledge across multiple epochs, inscribing their wisdom into forms that might only be comprehensible to certain minds. The Necronomicon also makes brief allusions to the Akkadic manuscripts, though its references are veiled in metaphor and obscured by Alhazred's poetic phrasing. In one particularly enigmatic passage, the Mad Arab writes, "The winds from beyond time whisper of the halls of Pennacotus, where the minds of those not yet born commune with those long vanished." This line has been interpreted as a reference to the great race's time-traveling nature, suggesting that their knowledge is not confined to a single moment, but spans the entirety of cosmic history. Medieval scholars, particularly among the more obscure sects of alchemists and astrologers, whispered of a manuscript that granted insights into the structure of time itself, though those who claimed to have studied its pages often met unnatural ends. A particularly chilling account from the 14th century details a secret Latin translation of a portion of the text, which was swiftly suppressed by the Inquisition. The translator, a monk named Aurelian of Toulouse, allegedly vanished from his cell, leaving behind only a passage scrawled onto the walls. "The watchers beyond the veil have seen me. I am unmoored." Another reference surfaces in the 15th century, within the writings of Niccolò di Ferrara, an Italian mystic and mathematician who claimed to have uncovered a lost codex in the ruins of a Coptic monastery. Di Ferrara's notes, preserved only in fragmented form, describe a text containing "the measurements of the heavens before the firmament was fixed, and a record of the years of the unborn." His fate remains uncertain. His final letter, addressed to a colleague in Venice, speaks of a great design, a pattern woven across centuries, before abruptly ending mid-sentence. In the 19th and 20th centuries, certain occultists sought to recover what remained of the Akkadic manuscripts. One such individual, the enigmatic Charles Montague Harrow, traveled extensively across the Middle East and Central Asia in search of a rumored cache of ancient texts hidden within the ruins of a monastery. Harrow's final letter, sent from the depths of the Karakum Desert, spoke of an underground vault lined with stone tablets etched in symbols unlike any human script. The letter ended abruptly, and Harrow was never seen again. Another figure of note was Edwin Cartwright, an anthropologist and linguist who vanished while on an expedition to the Australian interior in 1936. Cartwright, fascinated by Aboriginal myths of the Star Walkers, beings who traveled between times, believed there was a connection between these legends and the Akkadic manuscripts. His final notes, recovered from his abandoned campsite, mention a series of ancient petroglyphs depicting strange, inhuman figures, accompanied by symbols that bore a striking resemblance to those Harrow had described years earlier. His body was never found, and his disappearance remains unexplained. Given its nature, the Pnakotic manuscripts would be among the most dangerous texts in existence, should any fragment truly survive. Many researchers believe that whatever remains of the book has been deliberately hidden or destroyed, either by secretive organizations or forces beyond human understanding. Some propose that the manuscripts are not a physical book at all, but rather a transmitted knowledge, accessible only under specific conditions, perhaps during states of altered consciousness, through rituals, or in moments of deep, unexplainable insight. If the great race of Yith inscribed their knowledge into something other than parchment or stone, it may persist in forms we cannot comprehend. Others theorize that agencies or groups aware of the book's potential have taken steps to ensure its secrets remain buried. The supposed disappearance of certain researchers, the destruction of obscure historical texts, and the suppression of anomalous archaeological findings all point toward an active effort to conceal knowledge that might unravel the fabric of accepted reality. Then, there are those who claim that fragments still exist, hidden in places where few dare to look, sealed within the catacombs of forgotten monasteries, buried beneath the shifting sands of the Karakum, or locked away in the deepest vaults of institutions whose very existence remains in question. The Pnakotic manuscripts are more than a mere book. They are a key to understanding a reality beyond human perception. Whether they are myth, suppressed history, or an artifact of a forgotten race, their legend persists. Perhaps even now, someone stumbles upon a cryptic passage, a fragment of an ancient record, a name that should not be spoken. If such a book exists, it is likely that those who seek it will meet the same fate as those before them, lost to history, their last moments marked by the eerie sensation that they have been seen by something that does not belong to this world. For those who believe the Pnakotic manuscripts are merely a legend, there is comfort in skepticism. For those who have glimpsed its pages, however, there is only silence, and the slow, creeping realization that time itself is not as immutable as it seems.
Yeah, he leaves off on a good note there. Really good videos, and they're getting better every day. Like, I've been watching Esoteric Guardian for, I don't know, maybe 6 months now, something like that. Probably a little better than 6 months. But yeah, it's increased. They're just getting better and better each time. Really good. I'm glad that he focused primarily on Lovecraftian lore and bringing it like through the lens of Hermetic sciences. So very good. There's a lot of Gnostic stuff as well, which I don't resonate as much with, but that's okay. I don't have to, right? Where it's left up to us at our own discernment what we jam with, right? Where we find our jam. And some people don't even like jam, right? They'd rather buy honey and kiss it on the lips. It's like buttered sausage, right? For some people, they're like, "What is it? Where'd it come from? What are you doing with it? Get it out of my face." I don't like buttered sausage, right? That was the funniest meme ever. So funny, so cute. Yeah, so what you had mentioned in your last email about interviewing, I believe you said Crow777. That would be freaking awesome, man. I'd be absolutely down for that. I'm going to take a quick 2-minute musical interlude. Y'all good-looking, sexy people out in Happy Land, keep doing your thing, all right? Shaking your moneymaker. Here, with no further ado, this is another guy here on the internet, here on YouTube, that I really like a lot. And for some reason, this song has gotten stuck in my head. One more time, baby.
Eagles flying high, cats on the prowl, devils in your bed, their whispers so loud, witches on my heels, so they'll steal, running in the dark, through concealed. Blood on the walls, spattering a sink. God can't help the dead, no time to think. Hounds howl at night, shadows in the light. Fear in every breath, eyes wide with fright. Cards dealt by fate, no way to escape. Threads getting tight, can't see the daylight. Blood on the walls, spattering a sink. God can't help the dead, no time to think. Cards dealt by fate, no way to escape. Threads getting tight, can't see the daylight. Blood on the walls, spattering a sink. God can't help the dead, no time to think.
All right. That was Dweller of the Dark with Blood on the Walls, right? No, I believe that song is actually called God Can't Help the Dead. Kind of a real thing, right? I mean, obviously that's a bit misleading, but at the same time, you got to think about the context of what's going on in the song, right? Oh my God, this is dire. Oh, gallows humor, man. Not a fun thing. Don't get involved if you don't have to, man. Stay on the sunny side of life, right? Steppin' peppy. All right, y'all good-looking, sexy people. Like I said, I just got the panel open in case anybody stops by and wants to say hello. If not, I'm just going to keep rolling with the punches, all right? Keeping my nose to the grindstone. We got another one here. This is The Silver Key by H.P. Lovecraft, read by none other than yours truly, Frank Monday. This is a bit of a thing, guys. If anybody steps up to the... Whoop, what happened? I lost my picture. What'd you do about your picture, boy? Why'd you lose that old picture? Yeah, if anybody steps lively, then we'll take it to the next level. If not, I'm just gonna let this play in the background for y'all good-looking, sexy people out there in Happy Land, getting good magic done tonight on FM radio, broadcasting to you from the central kingdom of the celestial dragon Twilight Zone, Old Peking, far behind the bamboo firewall, broadcasting atop a crystal pyramidion out across the sea level vast expansive plain. Hopefully it's reaching you wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you receive this transmission, Wayfarer. Keep doing good magic and wishing you well. With no further ado, The Silver Key, read by Frank Monday. Lunar Light Entertainment proudly presents a short story by Howard Philip Lovecraft, The Silver Key. When Randolph Carter was 30, he lost the key of the Gate of Dreams. Prior to that time, he had made up for the prosiness of life by nightly excursions to strange and ancient cities beyond space, and lovely, unbelievable garden lands across ethereal seas. But as middle age hardened upon him, he felt that these liberties slipping away little by little, until at last he was cut off altogether. No more could his galleys sail up the river Okranos past the gilded spires of Thran, or his elephant caravans tramp through perfumed jungles in Cled, where forgotten palaces with veined ivory columns sleep lovely and unbroken under the moon. He had read much of things as they are and talked with too many people. Well-meaning philosophers had taught him to look into the logical relations of things and analyze the processes which shape his thoughts and fancies. Wonder had gone away, and he had forgotten that all life is only a set of pictures in the brain, among which there is no difference betwixt those born of real things and those born of inward dreamings, and no cause to value the one above the other. Custom had dinned into his ears a superstitious reverence for that which tangibly and physically exists, and had made him secretly ashamed to dwell in visions. Wise men told him his simple fancies were inane and childish, and he believed it because he could see that they might easily be so. What he failed to recall was that the deeds of reality are just as inane and childish, and even more absurd because their actors persist in fancying them full of meaning and purpose, as the blind cosmos grinds aimlessly on from nothing to something and from something back to nothing again, neither heeding nor knowing the wishes or existence of the minds that flicker for a second now and then in the darkness. They had chained him down to things that are, and had then explained the workings of those things till mystery had gone out of the world, when he complained and longed to escape into twilight realms where magic molded all the little vivid fragments and prized associations of his mind into vistas of breathless expectancy and unquenchable delight. They had turned him instead toward the newfound prodigies of science, bidding him find wonder in the atom's vortex and mystery in the sky's dimensions. And when he had failed to find these boons in things whose laws are known and measurable, they told him he lacked imagination and was immature because he preferred dream illusions to the illusions of our physical creation. So Carter had tried to do as others did and pretended that the common events and emotions of earthly minds were more important than the fantasies of rare and delicate souls. He did not dissent when they told him that the animal pain of a stuck pig or dyspeptic plowman in real life is a greater thing than the peerless beauty of Narath with its 100 carven gates and domes of Chalcedony, which he dimly remembered from his dreams, and under their guidance he cultivated a painstaking sense of pity and tragedy. Once in a while, though, he could not help seeing how shallow, fickle, and meaningless all human aspirations are, and how emptily our real impulses contrast with those pompous ideals we profess to hold. Then he would have recourse to the polite laughter they had taught him to use against the extravagance and artificiality of dreams, for he saw that the daily life of our world is every inch as extravagant and artificial, and far less worthy of respect because of its poverty in beauty and its silly reluctance to admit its own lack of reason and purpose. In this way he became a kind of humorist, for he did not see that even humor is empty in a mindless universe devoid of any true standard of consistency or inconsistency. In the first days of his bondage he had turned to the gentle churchly faith endeared to him by the naive trust of his fathers, for thence stretched mystic avenues which seemed to promise escape from life. Only on closer view did he mark the starved fancy and beauty, the stale and prosy triteness, and the owlish gravity and grotesque claims of solid truth, which reigned boresomely and overwhelmingly among most of its professors, or feel to the fool the awkwardness with which it sought to keep alive as literal fact the outgrown fears and guesses of a primal race confronting the unknown. It wearied Carter to see how solemnly people tried to make earthly reality out of old myths, which every step of their boasted science confuted, and this misplaced seriousness killed the attachment he might have kept for the ancient creeds, had they been content to offer the sonorous rites and emotional outlets in their true guise of ethereal fantasy. But when he came to study those who had thrown off the old myths, he found them even more ugly than those who had not. They did not know that beauty lies in harmony, and that loveliness of life has no standard amidst an aimless cosmos, save only its harmony with the dreams and the feelings which gone before and blindly molded our little spheres out of the rest of chaos. They did not see that good and evil and beauty and ugliness are only ornamental fruits of perspective, whose sole value lies in their linkage to what chance made our fathers think and feel, and whose finer details are different for every race and culture. Instead, they either denied these things altogether or transferred them to the crude, vague instincts which they shared with the beasts and peasants, so that their lives were dragged malodorously out in pain, ugliness, and disproportion, yet filled with a ludicrous pride at having escaped from something no more unsound than that which still held them. They had traded the false gods of fear and blind piety for those of license and anarchy. Carter did not taste deeply of these modern freedoms, for their cheapness and squalor sickened a spirit-loving beauty alone, while his reason rebelled at the flimsy logic with which their champions tried to gild brute impulse with a sacredness stripped from the idols they had discarded. He saw that most of them, in common with their cast-off priestcraft, could not escape from the delusion that life has a meaning apart from that which men dream into it, and could not lay aside the crude notion of ethics and obligations beyond those of beauty, even when all nature shrieked of its unconsciousness and impersonal unmorality in the light of their scientific discoveries. Warped and bigoted with preconceived illusions of justice, freedom, and consistency, they cast off the old lore and the old ways with the old beliefs, nor ever stopped to think that the lore and those ways were the sole makers of their present thoughts and judgments, and the sole guides and standards in a meaningless universe without fixed aims or stable points of reference. Having lost these artificial settings, their lives grew void of direction and dramatic interest, till at length they strove to drown their ennui and bustle and pretended usefulness, noise and excitement, barbaric display and animal sensation. When these things paled, disappointed, or grew nauseous through revulsion, they cultivated irony and bitterness, and found fault with the social order. Never could they realize that their brute foundations were as shifting, as contradictory as the gods of their elders, and that the satisfaction of one moment is the bane of the next. Calm, lasting beauty comes only in dream, and this solace the world had thrown away when in its worship of the real it threw away the secrets of childhood and innocence. Amidst this chaos of hollowness and unrest, Carter tried to live as befitted a man of keen thought and good heritage. With his dreams fading under the ridicule of the age, he could not believe in anything, but the love of harmony kept him close to the ways of his race and station. He walked impassive through the cities of men, and sighed because no vista seemed fully real, because every flash of yellow sunlight on tall roofs and every glimpse of balustrated plazas in the first lamps of evening served only to remind him of dreams he had once known, and to make him homesick for the ethereal lands he no longer knew how to find. Travel was only a mockery, and even the Great War stirred him but little, though he served from the first in the Foreign Legion of France. For a while he sought friends, but soon grew weary of the crudeness of their emotions, and the sameness and earthiness of their visions. He felt vaguely glad that all his relatives were distant and out of touch with him, for they could not have understood his mental life. That is, none but his grandfather and great-uncle Christopher could, and they were long dead. Then he began once more the writing of books, which he had left off when dreams first failed him, but here, too, was there no satisfaction or fulfillment, for the touch of earth was upon his mind, and he could not think of lovely things as he had done of yore. Ironic humor dragged down all the twilight minarets he reared, and the earthly fear of improbability blasted all the delicate and amazing flowers in his fairy gardens. The convention of assumed pity spilt mawkishness on his characters. While the myth of an important reality and significant human events and emotions debased all his high fantasy into thin veiled allegory and cheap social satire, his new novels were successful as his old ones had never been. And because he knew how empty they must be to please an empty herd, he burned them and ceased writing. They were very graceful novels in which he urbanely laughed at the dreams he lightly sketched, but he saw that their sophistication had sapped all their life away. It was after this that he cultivated deliberate illusion and dabbled in the notions of the bizarre and the eccentric as an antidote for the commonplace. Most of these, however, soon showed their poverty and barrenness, and he saw that the popular doctrines of occultism are as dry and inflexible as those of science, yet without even the slender palliative of truth to redeem them. Gross stupidity, falsehood, and muddled thinking are not dream, and form no escape from life to a mind trained above their level. So Carter bought stranger books and sought out deeper and more terrible men of fantastic erudition, delving into arcana of consciousness that few have trod, and learning things about the secret pits of life, legend, and immemorial antiquity which disturbed him ever afterward. He decided to live on a rarer plane, and furnished his Boston home to suit his changing moods. One room for each, hung in appropriate colors, furnished with befitting books and objects, and provided with sources of the proper sensations of light, heat, sound, taste, and odor. Once he heard of a man in the South who was shunned and feared for the blasphemous things he read in prehistoric books and clay tablets smuggled from India and Arabia. Him he visited, living with him and sharing his studies for 7 years, till horror overtook them one midnight in an unknown and archaic graveyard, and only one emerged where two had entered. Then he went back to Arkham, the terrible witch-haunted old town of his forefathers in New England, and had experiences in the dark amidst the hoary willows and tottering gambrel roofs, which made him seal forever certain pages in the diary of a wild-minded ancestor. But these horrors took him only to the edge of reality and were not of the true dream country he had known in youth, so that at 50 he despaired of any rest or contentment in a world grown too busy for beauty and too shrewd for dream. Having perceived at last the hollowness and futility of real things, Carter spent his days in retirement and in wistful, disjointed memories of his dream-filled youth. He thought it rather silly that he bothered to keep on living at all, and got from a South American acquaintance a very curious liquid to take him to oblivion without suffering. Inertia and force of habit, however, caused him to defer action, and he lingered indecisively among thoughts of old times, taking down the strange hangings from his walls and refitting the house as it was in his early boyhood, purple panes, Victorian furniture, and all. With the passage of time, he became almost glad he had lingered, for his relics of youth and his cleavage from the world made life and sophistication seem very distant and unreal. So much so that a touch of magic and expectancy stole back into his nightly slumbers. For years those slumbers had known only such twisted reflections of everyday things as the commonest slumbers know. But now there returned a flicker of something stranger and wilder, something of vaguely awesome imminence, which took the form of tinsely clear pictures from his childhood days, and made him think of little inconsequential things he had long forgotten. He would often awake calling for his mother and grandfather, both in their graves for a quarter of a century. Then one night his grandfather reminded him of a key. The gray old scholar, as vivid as in life, spoke long and earnestly of their ancient line, and of the strange visions of the delicate and sensitive men who composed it. He spoke of the flame-eyed crusader who learnt wild secrets of the Saracens that held him captive, and of the first Sir Randolph Carter who studied magic when Elizabeth was queen. He spoke, too, of that Edmund Carter who had just escaped hanging in the Salem witchcraft trials, and who he had placed in an antique box a great silver key handed down from his ancestors. Before Carter awakened, the gentle visitant had told him where to find that box, that carved oak box of archaic wonder whose grotesque lid no hand had raised for 2 centuries. In the dust and shadows of the great attic he found it, remote and forgotten, at the back of a drawer in a tall chest. It was about a foot square, and its Gothic carvings were so fearful that he did not marvel no person since Edmund Carter had dared to open it. It gave forth no noise when shaken, but was mystic with the scent of unremembered spices. That it held a key was indeed only a dim legend, and Randolph Carter's father had never known such a box existed. It was bound in rusty iron, and no means was provided for working the formidable lock. Carter vaguely understood that he would find within it some key to the lost Gate of Dreams, but of where and how to use it, his grandfather had told him nothing. An old servant forced the carven lid, shaking as he did so at the hideous faces leering from the blackened wood, and at some unplaced familiarity. Inside, wrapped in a discolored parchment, was a huge key of tarnished silver, covered with cryptical arabesques, but of any legible explanation there was none. The parchment was voluminous, and held only the strange hieroglyphs of an unknown tongue written with an antique reed. Carter recognized the characters as those he had seen on a certain papyrus scroll belonging to that terrible scholar of the South, who had vanished one midnight in a nameless cemetery. The man had always shivered when he read the scroll, and Carter shivered now, but he cleaned the key and kept it by him nightly in its aromatic box of ancient oak. His dreams were meanwhile increasing in vividness, and though showing him none of the strange cities and incredible gardens of the old days, were assuming a definite cast whose purpose could not be mistaken. They were calling him back along the years, and with the mingled wills of all his fathers were pulling him towards some hidden and ancestral source. Then he knew he must go into the past and merge himself with old things, and day after day he thought of the hills to the north where haunted Arkham and the rushing Miskatonic and the lonely rustic homestead of his people lay. In the brooding fire of autumn, Carter took the old remembered way past graceful lines of rolling hill and stone-walled meadow, distant vale and hanging woodland, curving road and nestling farmstead, and the crystal windings of the Miskatonic, crossed here and there by rustic bridges of wood or stone. At one bend he saw the group of giant elms among which an ancestor had oddly vanished a century and a half before, and shuddered as the wind blew meaningly through them. Then there was the crumbling farmhouse of old Goody Fowler, the witch, with its little evil windows and great roof sloping nearly to the ground on the north side. He speeded up his car as he passed it, and did not slacken till he had mounted the hill where his mother and her fathers before her were born, and where the old white house still looked proudly across the road at the breathlessly lovely panorama of rock slope and verdant valley, with the distant spires of Kingsport on the horizon, and hints of the archaic dream-laden sea in the farthest background. Then came the steeper slope that held the old Carter place he had not seen in over 40 years. Afternoon was gone when he reached the foot, and at the bend halfway up he paused to scan the outspread countryside, golden and glorified in the slanting floods of magic poured out by a western sun. All the strangeness and expectancy of his recent dreams seemed present in this hushed and unearthly landscape, and he thought of the unknown solitudes of other planets as his eyes traced out the velvet and deserted lawns shining vigilant between their tumbled walls, the clumps of fairy forest setting off far lines of purple hills beyond hills, and the spectral wooded valley dipping down in shadow to dark hollows where trickling waters crooned and gurgled among swollen and distorted roots. Something made him feel that motors did not belong in the realm he was seeking, so he left his car at the edge of the forest and, putting the great key in his coat pocket, walked up on the hill. Woods now engulfed him utterly, though he knew the house was on a high knoll that cleared the trees except to the north. He wondered how it would look, for it had been left vacant and untended through his neglect since the death of his strange great-uncle Christopher 30 years before. In his boyhood, he had reveled through long visits there and had found weird marvels in the woods beyond the orchard. Shadows thickened around him, for the night was near. Once a gap in the trees opened up to the right, so that he saw off across leagues of twilight meadow and spied the old Congregational steeple on Central Hill in Kingsport, pink with the last flush of day, the panes of the little round windows blazing with reflected fire. Then, when he was in deep shadow again, he recalled with a start that the glimpse must have come from childish memory alone, since the old white church had long been torn down to make room for the Congregational Hospital. He had read of it with interest, for the paper had told about some strange burrows or passages found in the rocky hill beneath. Through his puzzlement, a voice piped, and he started again at its familiarity after long years. Old Benijah Corey had been his Uncle Christopher's hired man, and was aged even in those far-off times of his boyhood visits. Now he must be well over 100, but that piping voice could come from no one else. He could distinguish no words, yet the tone was haunting and unmistakable. To think that old Benijah should still be alive. "Mr. Randy? Mr. Randy, whar be ye? Do you want to skeer your Aunt Marthy plumb to death? Hain't she told ye to keep nigh the place in the afternoon and get back fur dark? Randy? Randy!" "He's the beatin'est boy for running off in the woods. I see half the time a settin' moonin' round that snake den in the upper timber lot. Hee-yaw, Randy!" Randolph Carter stopped in the pitched darkness and rubbed his hand across his eyes. Something was queer. He had been somewhere he ought not to be, had strayed very far away to places where he had not belonged, and was now inexcusably late. He had not noticed the time on the Kingsport steeple, though he could easily have made it out with his pocket telescope. But he knew his lateness was something very strange and unprecedented. He was not sure he had his little telescope with him, and put his hand to his blouse pocket to see. No, it was not there. But there was the big silver key he had found in a box somewhere. Uncle Chris had told him something odd once about an old unopened box with a key in it, but Aunt Martha had stopped the story abruptly, saying it was no kind of thing to tell a child whose head was already too full of queer fancies. He tried to recall just where he had found the key, but something seemed very confused. He guessed it was in the attic at home in Boston, and dimly remembered bribing Parks with half his week's allowance to help him open the box and keep quiet about it. But when he remembered this, the face of Parks came up very strangely, as if wrinkles of long years had fallen upon the brisk little Cockney. "Randy? Randy? Hi, Randy!" A swaying lantern came around the black bend, and old Benijah bounced on the silent and bewildered form of the pilgrim. "Darn ye, boy, so there you be. Ain't you got a tongue in your head that you can't answer a body? I've been calling this half hour, and you must have heard me long ago. Don't you know your Aunt Marthy's all a fidget over your being out after dark? Wait till I tell your Uncle Chris when he gets home. You'd orter know these here woods ain't no fitting place to be traipsin' this hour. They's things abroad what don't do nobody no good, as my grandsire knowed fur me. Come on, Mr. Randy, or Hannah won't keep supper no longer." So Randolph Carter was marched up the road where wandering stars glimmered through high autumn boughs, and dogs barked as the yellow light of small pane windows shone out at the farther turn. and the Pleiades twinkled across the open knoll, where a gate gambrel roof stood black against the dim west. Aunt Martha was in the doorway, and did not scold too hard when Benijah shoved the truant in. She knew Uncle Chris well enough to expect such things of the Carter blood. Randolph did not show his key, but ate his supper in silence, and protested only when bedtime came. He sometimes dreamed better when awake, and he wanted to use that key. In the morning, Randolph was up early, and would have run off to the upper timber lot if Uncle Chris had not caught him and forced him into his chair by the breakfast table. He looked impatiently around the low-pitched room with the rag carpet and exposed beams and corner posts, and smiled only when the orchard boughs scratched at the leaded panes of the rear window. The trees and the hills were close to him, and formed the gates of that timeless realm which was his true country. Then, when he was free, he felt in his blouse pocket for the key, and being reassured, skipped off across the orchard to the rise beyond, where the wooded hill climbed again to heights even of treeless knoll. The floor of the forest was mossy and mysterious, and great lichened rocks rose vaguely here and there in the dim light, like druid monoliths among the swollen and twisted trunks of a sacred grove. Once, in his ascent, Randolph crossed a rushing stream whose falls a little way off sang runic incantations to the lurking fauns and acapans and dryads. Then he came to the strange cave in the forest slope, the dreaded snake den, which country folk shunned, and a way from which Benijah had warned him again and again. It was deep, far deeper than anyone but Randolph suspected, for the boy had found a fissure in the farthermost black corner that led to a loftier grotto beyond, a haunting, sepulchral place whose granite walls held a curious illusion of conscious artifice. On this occasion he crawled in as usual, lighting his way with matches filched from the sitting room match safe, and edging through the final crevice with an eagerness hard to explain even to himself. He could not tell why he approached the farther wall so confidently, or why he instinctively drew forth the great silver key as he did so. But on he went, and when he danced back to the house that night, he offered no excuses for his lateness, nor heeded in the least the reproofs he gained for ignoring the noontide dinner horn altogether. Now it is agreed by all the distant relatives of Randolph Carter that something occurred to heighten his imagination in his 10th year. His cousin, Ernest B. Aspinwall, Esquire, of Chicago, is fully 10 years his senior, and distinctly recalls a change in the boy after the autumn of 1883. Randolph had looked on scenes of fantasy that few others can even have beheld, and stranger still were some of the qualities which he showed in relation to very mundane things. He seemed, in fine, to have picked up an odd gift of prophecy, and reacted unusually to things which, though at the time without meaning, would later found to justify the singular impressions. In subsequent decades, as new inventions, new names, and new events appeared one by one in the book of history, people would now and then recall wonderingly how Carter had years before let fall some careless word of undoubted connection with what was then far in the future. He did not himself understand these words, or know why certain things made him feel certain emotions, but fancied that some unremembered dream must be responsible. It was as early as 1897 that he turned pale when some traveler mentioned the French town of Boulogne-en-Santerre, and friends remembered it when he was almost mortally wounded there in 1916, while serving with the Foreign Legion in the Great War. Carter's relatives talk much of these things because he has lately disappeared. His little old servant Parks, who for years bore patiently with his vagaries, last saw him on the morning he drove off alone in his car with a key he had recently found. Parks had helped him get the key from the old box containing it, and had felt strangely affected by the grotesque carvings on the box, and by some other odd quality he could not name. When Carter left, he had said he was going to visit the old ancestral country around Arkham. Halfway up Elm Mountain, on the way to the ruins of the old Carter place, they found his motor set carefully by the roadside, and in it was a box of fragrant wood with carvings that frightened the countrymen who stumbled upon it. The box held only a queer parchment whose characters no linguist or paleographer had been able to decipher or identify. Rain had long effaced any possible footprints, though Boston investigators had something to say about evidences of disturbances among the fallen timbers of the Carter place. It was, they averred, as though someone had groped about the ruins at no distant period. A common white handkerchief found among forest rocks on the hillside beyond cannot be identified as belonging to the missing man. There is talk of apportioning Randolph Carter's estate among his heirs, but I shall stand firmly against this course, because I do not believe he is dead. There are twists of time and space, of vision and reality, which only a dreamer can divine, and from what I know of Carter, I think he has merely found a way to traverse these mazes. Whether or not he will ever come back, I cannot say. He wanted the lands of dream he had lost, and yearned for the days of his childhood. Then he found a key, and I somehow believe he was able to use it to strange advantage. I shall ask him when I see him, for I expect to meet him shortly in a certain dream city we both used to haunt. It is rumored in Ulthar, beyond the river sky, that a new king reigns on the opal throne in Elikvad, that fabulous town of turrets atop the hollow cliffs of glass overlooking the twilight sea, wherein the bearded and finning Nori build their singular labyrinths. And I believe I know how to interpret this rumor. Certainly, I look forward impatiently to the sight of that great silver key, for in its cryptical arabesques there may stand symbolized all the aims and mysteries of a blindly impersonal cosmos. Thank you for listening to this audio presentation of H.P. Lovecraft's The Silver Key. Thank you for your continued patronage on www.buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday. Fare thee well, wanderer and wayfarer, and do good magic. All right. That was some good magic right there, man. That was a few years ago when I made that. Not perfect, but it is what it is, you know. Probably represents 15 to 20 hours of work, I would imagine. It's quite a thing putting together an audio project, if you don't know. Dweller of the Dark certainly knows, man. He's relentless in the amount of material he puts out. When you get in the jam, you can really do it. Maybe one of that nature I could probably make in a little better now. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate, but it is what it is, Wayfarer. There it is there, old Frank Monday reading The Silver Key by Howard Phillips Lovecraft, and I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed making it. I've only made a few. I made The Alchemist. I think The Alchemist was my first that I did of Lovecraft's, and then I did an extensive show entirely on the Gate of the Silver Key. Like, that's what Hypnoapotheosis, the 100-day challenge on astral travel, was all about. We went through the Gates of the Silver Key, which is the follow-up to the Silver Key, for 100 days straight, man. It was quite a thing, with a lot of other material as well, but that's a long work. I believe it's closer to 2.5 hours long in audio format. So some of his more substantial work. All right, y'all good-looking, sexy people, I'm gonna head off into the abodes of the future. I just wanted to log in and get a few watch hours. I hope you all are doing well out there. Let's run that Frank Mindy intro one time and see if anybody says hello before I chime out. But the ideas room was open for a while. It looks like I'm getting pretty tight on time, so I'll put that call out there once more if anybody wants to panel up and chat a little. Probably go 20-30 minutes. If not, I'll wrap it up early. Y'all good-looking, sexy people, keep on shaking your moneymaker out there in Happy Land. And let's find that intro video. Where's that? Ooh, you know it would be nice to play that. Dweller of the Dark. Let's play a different song this time. Let's play a happy song. Let me see if I can find one. That's not the one. Should be this one then. Let's see. Okay, yeah, good magic. Good magic indeed, Wayfarer. Yeah, brief musical interlude.
Judas Mill, wanting my heart, wanting my soul still, till the last stars decline. This mixing will take more than my wine. Damn the vampires in Judas Mill, take and they take, never get their fill. In the night under the moon's cold glow, they weave spells and secrets that only shadows know. Devils down in Judas Mill won't ever break free from her thrill. Under skies so dark and wide, she'll haunt till the last star dies. Devils down in Judas Mill, wanting my heart, wanting my soul still, till the last stars decline. This mixing will take more than my wine. Damn the vampires in Judas Mill, take and they take, never get their fill. In the night under the moon's cold glow, they weave spells and secrets that only shadows know. Devils down in Judas Mill won't ever break free from her thrill. Under skies so dark and wide, she'll haunt till the last star dies. Under skies so dark and wide, she'll haunt till the last star dies.
All right, that was Vampires Judas Mill by Dweller of the Dark here on YouTube. Make sure you guys check him out. Tell him Frank Monday sent you. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this evening. We're up to the $1.25, $1.50, right? $1.50 mark. So it's been fun. It's been real, and it's been real fun. Y'all, good-looking, sexy people out there, keep shaking your magic wand, your voodoo stick, right? And getting good magic done, because you know I love you. And keep in touch as we wander into the abodes of the future. Yeah, keep doing good magic. Check me out on buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday, broadcasting to you from the central kingdom of the celestial dragon, Twilight Zone, old Peking, far behind the bamboo firewall, transmitting atop a crystal pyramidion. And that's right, baby. You know I've got the ornate, aromatic, grotesque wooden box with its arabesques, all right, hidden away safely with the shining trapezohedron. So all hail the Father Dagon, all hail the Mother Hydra. When the stars align by the light of the shining trapezohedron, Cthulhu will rise. And some may already know that Cthulhu has in fact risen. With no further ado, I will again see you on the other side. Oh, Arbiter says he'll join. It's kind of the end, man. I might have a few minutes if you're a happy-go-lucky person. I left it open, and there it is there. Arbiter of Justice. If so, the link's there. I mean, you could have clicked it before I was ready to sign off, but maybe next time, Arbiter. Stop back by. If it's your first time, don't let it be your last time. And if you like the show, definitely say hello, leave a comment, hit the like button, all that happy horse shit that keeps YouTube's algorithms barking like Pavlov's dog. Until next time, Wayfarer, keep doing good magic. But the link is still open, Arbor, if you want to talk backstage. If not, good magic to you. And until next time, bye for now, everyone.